Hi, this is Casey from MoreCoffee.com, and today we're going to be following the progression of a coffee bean through the various roast levels. We're going to start off at the lightest stage you'll ever be, which is unroasted. A green coffee bean has a pale green appearance, and you can also have decaf coffee beans, which may look roasted at first sight, but they have the same texture and feel as an unroasted coffee bean. Once you dump them in the roaster, the heat's going to start getting applied, the roast curve is going to start picking up, and you're going to get the bean transforming into a more yellowish color. You're going to get smells of grass and herbal notes out of the exhaust of a roaster. The temperature is going to progress from 100 degrees to 200 to 300, and during that phase it's going to transform into a brownish color and then to a darker brown, progressively darker brown. Now you'll notice that the very, very lightest roast that would be palatable would be half city. At this roast you may or may not have a little bit of chaff left on the bean, which is a fine paper-like skin that will come off as the roast progresses. Really the first roast level that you want to ever try, which would really be at very, very low acid beans, in many cases of Brazil or Sumatra. You'll see that the bean has gotten rid of almost all of its chaff, if not all of it. There's a little bit of chaff inside the crevice. It's a very light brown. You will notice that there's really no oil on the outside of the bean. You'll progress to a city roast. A city roast, very similar to a half city. You'll notice a little bit darker. You'll still notice a little bit of chaff on the inner crevice of the bean. You still won't notice any oil, but there may be a slight little bit of sheen, ever so slight. Then you'll progress to what's called a full city. The full city roast is probably the peak at which you're going to want to get the maximum of what's called origin flavor out of the bean and balance it with a little bit of roast character, not too much. This is the ideal for most beans, except the most acidic or the coffees that you want to emphasize the chocolate or the spice notes that you'll get emphasized at the darker roast. Most of our coffees we recommend at the full city or a dark full city, venturing on the French roast. Now the darker spectrum of the roasts, you're going to have, people say Vienna, French roast, you go to the Italian, Spanish, there's all sorts of names for those darker levels. But really you can lump them into a light French roast, dark French roast, and then you start venturing on charcoal. So at a dark full city or a light French roast, you'll notice pools of oil forming on the outside of the bean. It's a darker brown, slightly darker than a full city. You'll notice very little chaff on the inside of the crevice. It's a very smooth surface to the bean, unlike the lighter roasts, which are very almost wrinkly and textured. And as you start going further, you're going to get much more oil. It's going to be much more difficult for the beans to move around inside the roast chamber because the oils are clumping together. And at this dark French roast level, you're going to get a lot of roast character as opposed to intrinsic origin character that is inside the bean. The darker you go, the more all coffees converge to the same flavor. At the full city roast, you're going to hit, depending on your roaster, somewhere around 400 to 500 degrees. On the eye roast, for instance, you'll see around 420, 410, 400, the second crack. The city roast, maybe a city roast, you'll see a little bit after the first crack, which is the first of the two distinct phases of cracking inside the roast level. That just about covers the progression of the roast levels. Any questions can be directed to us, support@morecoffee.com, or you can give us a call and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions for you.